Alright guys, I think I have never done anything like this before, so today I will be checking out a few cars that through many years of playing multiplayer have been quite rare to spot. And no, I won't be looking too much into cars with, bad performance, because basically that explains why they are not used in multiplayer. So I will be having a quick look at cars which are not horrible, but just quite rare to come by while playing multiplayer. And yeah, I will try to speculate about why aren't they used too much these days. So let's have a look. For a second I thought that it could be a great idea to start from D-Class, but then I just realized that the vast majority of Asphalt 9 players, don't start their multiplayer seasons from Amateur League, which is where, using D-Class cars makes the most sense, but they start from C-Class since the multiplayer system already puts you there at the very beginning of the season. So yeah, I will start from C-Class instead since I don't have the experience of playing on Amateur League that often. On the first position of this list, we have the Formula Engine, which appeared for the first time ever on a time-limited event where you could basically almost unlock it for free if you spend like, 1500 tokens or so in packs. And not gonna lie, this car is really special because of its own backstory, as I already explained on a few videos in the past. A model of this car was used 4 years ago in the finals of an Asphalt 9 eSport competition, and only a few players got the chance to lock the car at stock until it finally appeared for everyone during the last update, and well, the rest is history. Anyways, it's a great car, good acceleration and handling, fine nitro, but a quite low top speed, which doesn't even mean it's necessarily bad for multiplayer. So in general, I would say that it's quite rare to see this car because, not everyone owns it at max like I do, where, it's actually good, and it has been around for less than a couple of months. So who knows, maybe in the future it becomes more common in multiplayer and that stuff. Alright, so moving to B-Class where there is more variety, it's been a really long time since the last time I saw a Nissan R390 GT1 in multiplayer, and honestly it kinda makes sense given the fact that this car accelerates quite poorly, and that's enough to scare away the players from using it on Classic. The Nitro isn't super great either, and honestly the only good points about this car are its top speed and the handling, which feels floaty in a way. It's not, a godly car by any means, but once it's golden, if you're lucky at the beginning, you can do pretty decently in most of the tracks, even with mid skills as mine, so you should be fine because you are great. The next car within B-Class, which right now is quite rare to see on multiplayer, is no more and no less than the Lamborghini SC63, which was Asphalt 9 most recent Grand Prix car until the current Aston Martin Vantage U12 2022 appeared. And I get it guys, it's no easy feat to play multiplayer with a car many people just left at 3 stars from its last Grand Prix or even less. I said I absolutely love this car and I decided to gold max it, and I can confidently say that it's great. It has a nice acceleration, nitro and top speed, but what feels the best about this car is, without any kind of doubt, the handling, because the car feels floaty, which in a nutshell makes it quite funny to drive as well as competitive in a way. It's not extremely common since it has been released quite recently, but I really hope to see it more often since I basically see Huracans and Bandas on Classic, and it gets boring sometimes. But now let's move to the next car of this list, which I consider is a more tricky one, the Sin R1. I will be mad honest with you guys, driving this car feels like paying for your sins in the deepest level of hell, because if it's true that it doesn't feel like, super heavy while steering, drifting with this car is a massive setback given the insane speed you lose in a matter of seconds after start taking a corner. Despite of the insane nitro efficiency and top speed the Sin R1 has, the drift combined with the acceleration poses a major setback for anyone trying to use this car in Classic. In Slipestream, however, it's something completely different, given the fact that you have a nitro bonus, which helps you to shockwave more often and thus regain your speed back. But still, I would say that the performance pretty much explains why this Sin R1, despite of being on this game for years, is not so common to see on multiplayer. Okay, so now it's A-Class time, starting with a car that appeared during a Drive Syndicate and then became a part of the multiplayer rewards. We have the Chevrolet Corvette C1. Guys, I absolutely love the way this car looks, and despite that its acceleration isn't the very best, in general it's not a bad car to use, with a really solid nitro efficiency combined with a great top speed and, an okayish handling. But okay, so what's the catch with this car? Well, it's extremely hard to gold it nowadays since you need lag to get its epic import parts from normal multiplayer seasons, and you can basically obtain its blueprint from multiplayer packs, so if you didn't leave it close to max back when it appeared for the first time, Having this car golden where it performs the best, it's quite rare, which explains as well why it's not that common to see in multiplayer. Okay, so then we have the Porsche 935, a car that I really love for no reason really, given the fact that since I maxed it out from its first Grand Prix, it has been quite hard to gather all the 16 epic import parts required to max it out, and at the current moment all what I have are like 12 epics or so, which gives a great near max performance, but it still isn't the same as owning this beauty on my garage, golden. I still can't understand why people don't use this car, especially in Classic, since it's quite nice in terms of acceleration and top speed, and its handling and drift radius are great as well. It was given for free in 2 Grand Prix, so I think it's just because people don't have it fully golden or just because they prefer to use, better cars like the Bandai instead. And it's a pity because this car can be quite competitive and useful in multiplayer though. Okay, so as we keep going on with A-Class, it's time to talk about an underdog, the Jaguar CX75. This car may not have the best acceleration, but everything else is quite great because the top speed, the handling and nitro efficiency are really good on this car, and if you are lucky and avoid getting knocked down at the beginning of the race, you can basically win pretty much any classic multiplayer race with this one, even in Ghost and Slipstream seasons, thanks to its great top speed as I mentioned. The only reason that comes to my mind about why this car may not be that common to spot in multiplayer is that maybe it hasn't been as easy to obtain as others, since I may be wrong, but I don't remember any special event in the last year where this car came back. I remember that in the Wolves special event it got some decals, but I can't say for sure if that was 1 year ago or farther away. Hopefully this car will appear again soon, so you can give it a try guys, because for real, it's not bad aside from its acceleration. And finally, here we are, on S-Class, and starting with no more and no less than the Blade GT1. There are 2 main reasons of why it's quite hard to combine this car on multiplayer. The first one is how this car drifts, since the drift radius can be annoying sometimes. It has, a complicated handling, let's say. Then we have the fact that getting all the blueprints required to max this car hasn't been easy, since I remember that on the 4th of July time limited events, some packs of this car appear, but sometimes you could only get like 50 packs of those, which wasn't nearly enough to max this car if you missed the chance to get it from the first time it arrived to the game. That's the main reason of why it isn't easy to see this car on multiplayer these days, but wait, because the following cars aren't much more common. The Torion 1 MW, for example. This car is rare because it arrived around the same time the Hennessy Venom F5 made its first appearance into the game, and thus many people weren't ready to log and max the Torion. The sad part, however, is that this car didn't came back ever since due to the licensor problems after filing for bankruptcy, which means that it's quite unlikely that we will ever see this car again on Asphalt Legends, and thus only those who got the chance to unlock it during its first and last special event will be able to use it in multiplayer. In general, the Torion feels great to drive thanks to its nitro efficiency, which despite not being insane, it's quite nice for such a fast car, as well as its floaty capabilities and of course the somewhat decent acceleration of the rank where it's placed, combined with a top speed with nitro of over 485 km per hour, making it one of the fastest cars of the game and a quite solid option for multiplayer that may never come back to the game. And I have left the most interesting case of this video for the end. The Inferno Automobile Inferno belongs to a Mexican licensor which appeared in Asphalt 9 with 2 models. First, this car that you can appreciate on the screen right now, the Inferno Automobile Inferno, and then a second model called the Inferno Automobile Settimo Cerchio. I decided to skip the Settimo Cerchio because I thought that it was redundant, and guess what? I was right guys, because a few months after the Settimo Cerchio special event was released, there were problems with the license that led to both of the Inferno cars to disappear from the game except for those who already own them, and that's why it's quite rare to see any of these cars on multiplayer. Luckily for me, I had this Inferno Automobile Inferno maxed out already, which is extremely good for multiplayer thanks to its nitro efficiency, decent acceleration and handling that makes this car an absolute jewel from the past. But not gonna lie, it's a pity that no one else aside those who went for it the first time it arrived will ever get the chance to experience this car performance. So yep guys, that was pretty much it. I have a few more ideas like the list I just shown to you all guys in this video, which I hope I will get the chance to upload within the upcoming weeks. Did you come by recently by any of the cars in this list? And do you own any of them? Let me know in the comment section, drop your like and make sure to subscribe in order to not to miss absolutely anything about Asphalt 9 Legends. And of course I will see you really soon as usual with much more content. Goodbye guys!